And I return to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Witnesses, state your names for the court, please. A writer of words so sweet they do scent the breeze, an inventor of ideas so profound they compose the earth, the unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe William Shakespeare, with a great bard to be recalled to life anew. Lo, what a magnificent man! Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shakespeare. Oh, the name's Meterman, Adrian B. Meterman. I work for the Ultimate Gas Company, East End branch office. Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday on Briar Road. Oh yeah, she's right. It's him. Why are his eyes yellow? Yes, we recall. We recall the man we saw outside the window. Come on! Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garrideb's house that morning. And he's a gas company employee? What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shakespeare, you're the victim in this miserable affair, correct? Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember that sweet poison that didst cross me and cross mine innocent lips? I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the jurors' minds, I'm sure. Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel indeed. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be. Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all. The jurors seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid. They're actually taking this seraph anagram idea seriously? Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions. But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shakespeare doing here? The gas man, I mean. Yeah, what me? Well, now... Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence when you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question, and moreover that the victim is a compulsive liar. What? No, I didn't quite say that. This young chin-stroker is here to controvert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman? Yeah, hang on. Oh, no, I'm just here. I hereby call for formal testimonies. You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question. One may smile, and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken. The truth of that wintry night of my discontent. The snow lay about. My neighbour did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But merry, bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, naught else. I was outside his bloke's window in a freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round-back Eastern fella. Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shakespeare's room all night? That's right. Of course, the bloke's window's all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see into the room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that. The question is, sir, why? Well, no, that's because he's on my list. And what a piece of work is a man! Wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment? What are you talking about? Now this buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed, make no more ado about his tedious words. What you said about me? calm yourself. This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question. Nothing more. Indeed, that is so. And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there is no one other than the accused present at the time who would have carried out this crime. Well, I believe this may be the final testimony of the trial. Now, counsel, the defense may proceed with cross-examination. Yes, my lord. The snow lay about. My neighbor did cometh from the evening. Hold it! To be clear, by neighbor, you're referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume. Oh, indeed, sir. Perchance thou wouldst that I call him the man from upstairs? And at what time did the mustachioed Nipponese visit you in your room? Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo, did he come to tender a gift of fragrant tea. Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes. And we were broiled in such a literary debate as history hath not seen before. By which I presume he means your discussion about who was the stronger, Romeo or Juliet. I, Shakespeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbour played the fair Juliet. Each of us dressed as would our characters be to bring weight upon our merry experiment. I dare not imagine the scene. O frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I had heard of the eastern art of jujitsu, but ne'er did I dream it would be a skill practiced by the comely maiden. Juliet beat Romeo up? This is not helping our case. I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you would reiterate your statement about the teeth that the accused brought to your room? My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding. The tea was bitter to drink. Let me stop you there. Mr. Natsume left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. If the defendant had really put the poison into your tea, that 3-hour window of time is something you're going to have to explain. Gladly, 'tis an easy task. What? I did drink of the tea, not while my guest didst tarry, but after he took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at 1 hour post midnight, verily were my lips parched. Objection! That doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire. After all, thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amidst such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again. And who was stronger? Mr. Shakespeare, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker? But of course, my liege. It was the stooped lover of words did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil. We all know what that means. It was the tea alone that passed my lips. So, you didn't have any kind of evening meal, dinner, supper? Fie on luxury, fie on gluttony. To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time. Sorry? I would that my belly were full no more oft than the sun doth rise. Most heroic eating habits, I must say. And night and day I do fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence is it that there doth not in my chamber be any... what? There doth not in my chamber be than the costumes of mine art. That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room. Now that I think of it, it's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single play or script anywhere. For I have devoured them all. You've eaten them? Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise? Right. That wasn't misleading at all. Now, could you turn around, do you think? Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea.
Oh, that's at the bloke's window in the freezing cold all night.
Hold it!
Why were you doing that? The windows of that house have all been filled in. A historical artifact of the now-defunct window tax, yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're right there. All bricked up horribly. As it happens, there's a little part of brickwork at the bottom corner that's been opened up. I was looking in through that gap.
Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there? And for some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well.
I don't like going around poking my chin out of people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. Them's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing. As long as there's breath in my body.
With all the theatricals today. Out of interest, Mr. Meterman, after the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all?
No, he never left. He was in that room the whole time, as far as I'm concerned.
How fucking long did you have to watch? 2 hours? And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide. How can you be sure of that? The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. And since we know the victim didn't leave his room, and hence didn't dispose of the poison's container himself, it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprits could have removed this receptacle.
Yes, lucidly explained, counsel, thank you.
It was. Can't argue with the logic.
No one else visited the room.
Hold it!
You say a short little round-backed eastern fella. So you can't be sure it was the defendant then.
Objection!
How many other short little round-backed Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London?
Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. But he showed up round 9, so I'm pretty sure of myself.
When the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Shamspear drink tea together?
Nah, sorry, I couldn't say.
Why not?
Well, because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? But what I did see was the silhouette of that little round-backed fellow wearing a pretty dress. And the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it.
Dress? I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway. Mr. Meterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question?
No question. Gasman's honour. My lord, I'm gonna have to remember your voice, sir.
Goodness me, yes, Mr. Foreman.
I've kept my mouth shut and listened up till now, but this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me?
Yes, everyone is. Are we to understand that you ladies and gentlemen of the jury are in agreement with one another?
That you've reached a unanimous decision? Too right we have. Are you all with me?
Yes. Wait, no, the defense is in the middle of cross-examination.
To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room.
Yes, the 3 missing hours, as you put it. But in the end, what difference do they make? None as far as I can see. And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer.
Like I was saying before, if I don't take 5 bob on with me tonight, Mrs. will blow her top.
What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said. Very well. Let the court be apprised of your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Wow, that's definitely not the voice I was using for him at all, was it? all of you?
Well, it would appear that the jury is indeed unanimous.
So, this time at least it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel. To the guilty being punished. Get up, Mr. Naruhodo, please. The trial isn't over yet. What do you mean, Miss Susato? What about the information I found in this encyclopedia of British law I have? That obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations. Remember? A summation examination. Yes, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course. But here in a British court of law, we can reverse the decisions of a majority of the jurors. If we can force the trial to continue. This trial can't end now. Whatever it takes, I just can't let that happen. The defense moves to invoke its right to a summation examination, my lord. Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese's friend's inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth.
Certainly no other defense counsel in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination.
Because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered.
Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. This court will proceed with the summation examination as outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law.
Thank you, my lord.
Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman?
Believe me, my lord, we know all about this young lad's tenacity. We're ready for it.
Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused.
Here we go. The victim... this is not your voice at all, sir. The victim may not be well off, but he's a nobleman and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man. Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid. Just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy.
There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman, for now at least.
No, I really don't care, like, I just need this trial to end quickly.
3 hours of missing time is nothing when you reach my age, you know. Nothing at all.
I knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced. It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shamspear is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen. If you ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements. And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsume has said appears to have registered at all. Well, here goes. Let's not forget. I've pleaded with the jury on Saseki-san's behalf before and it worked, so you never know. Before we begin, it might be an idea for me to remind you exactly how a summation examination works, Mr. Naruhodo. No, not really. Well, you're still very new to British law, after all. That's true, I suppose, and Saseki-san's fate is entirely in my hands now, too. There's always a chance I might have forgotten some crucial detail. Perhaps I should hear Susato-san out. I wonder, should I let her talk me through it again, or not bother? No need! Thank you for the kind offer, Miss Susato, but I've been through plenty of these summation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start any longer than necessary. Of course, I understand, and I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you like. I'll be here for you. The key to this is really listening carefully to each juror's statement. Finding two that are contradictory and pitting the... You are literally explaining the explanation I just skipped. Stop it. And pitting the corresponding jurors against each other.
Without further ado, please, counsel, proceed with the summation examination.
Yes, my lord.
The victim may not be well off, but he's a nobleman.
Hold it!
Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars?
Well, I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example.
Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar.
Though the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was that Japanese man's tea. When you take the gas man's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer.
Well, that's alarmingly logical.
Well, let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the old Shakespearean chum is a rotten liar after all, I'll gladly change my decision about the defendant. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same, isn't that right?
Well, yes, perhaps, though I don't see it happening.
What's that? Elderly gent on the end here, you know? You'll have to speak up.
Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. I just need this trial to be over.
How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury, then? All right, sir, I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said.
All right, if you can show me the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my position, all right?
Well, I do declare the good gentleman's no reason to lie.
Hold it!
Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yes, he is rather splendid. So you say, yet again. And meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously, it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much. And just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops early.
Hold it!
No. Not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy. There's no point dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps, like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though, and you're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim's version of events is backed up by what the big-chinned man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. There's another 3 steps. All this really does seem more and more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more. There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman. For now, at least. A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam? It really is a most tiresome problem for the company. Most irritating. We can absolutely be certain that the customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence, we can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company.
Good gracious, Altamont gas, you say?
Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, but proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be the first to agree.
Absolutely, Lady Quimby. Got to be used properly. Altamont gas is the best in the world, of course.
I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruhodo. The what? Right. Oh, the bow. He bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? So would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meterman was watching what Mr. Shamspeare was up to in his room? I'm afraid there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End will go to in order to steal our gas. And so I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudsman. But to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night? Oh. There's no no option but to dispatch a worker to watch him. We're very thorough in our investigations. So you mean Mr. Shamspear is... I wouldn't come out and say it in public, but you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief. You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you? Your voice is almost the same. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words, were I to let them penetrate the skin? But seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. Hence the bee theme. And when they do, you will find yourself blasted back to your angelic heights in an ultimate gas explosion. So Mr. Shamspear has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement. My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart you enjoyed? A little before the part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble.
Yes, of course.
This could be it. This could shift the balance. Okay, well then I guess we don't need to talk to anyone else, huh?
The victim puts on a fine performance, but in reality is a common thief of my company's gas.
Well, yeah, right there.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
Good gracious. Whose statements do you refer, counsel?
Juror number 1.
Hey, what are you yelling about, lad?
I presume you've heard juror number 4's statements, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas.
Well, yes.
The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, in fact turns out to be a common thief.
So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much.
It's true, we don't have
We don't have evidence as such just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know.
What?
You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there.
I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Yes, man's honour.
Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word. If I could show that Mr. Shamspear was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt.
Oh, yes, I did say that. And as a man of my honour, I'll uphold to it, as I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will.
Me? Oh, well, yes. Now that we've found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further.
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means you'll recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground.
Oh, no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with.
In that case, I shall change my leaning.
So, Mr. William Shamspear, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are.
That's 4 jurors. 4 for not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Victory. I suppose.
Order. Well, this is quite extraordinary, I must say. As a result of the defense's summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty. I therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue.
You have spoiled the bouquet, Mr. Shamspear.
The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you as a victim.
But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God mend me, I do swear.
This gas man speaketh that which concerns him most, naught but gas, naught but thin air. Aye, it burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul.
Why, what did you say?
Do I take it, Mr. Shamspeare, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery?
Most heartily, my lord, hast thou forgot? I am as a seraph, an angel, noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart.
Oh, you flowery-mouthed, pompous beanpole. It's 'cause I haven't got the evidence yet.
Mr. Shamspeare, if, in fact, you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony should have no sway in this courtroom.
It is my considered opinion that at the present time no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case. However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue the point further.
Objection!
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of time, the court's time. The gas and this case are unrelated.
Juror number 4. Yes? Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man has been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right, we do. Don't we, worker?
Absolutely, Lady Quimby. Gas man's honour.
Very well then. We will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, has been stealing gas.
Yes, my lord, it'll be a pleasure. The ultimate gas in
If I may, my lord.
Go ahead, madam.
This worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, yes, please, honey. Yeah.
Very well. As an exception, I shall honor your request.
Thank you, my lord.
Don't wait till the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting you, mark my words.
So, you will both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Altamont Gas Company's fuel.
Yes. Is that clear, my good man?
Clear as Altamont gas, my lady. Which is the clearest in the world.
Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Mr. Sato? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruhodo.
It's only a coincidence they dress the same. Alright, we'll pick this up next time.